If there are no questions,
Now,
Fadl.
you were saying in reference to the long hair and stuff, right? A lot of people use a hadith من تشبه بقوم فهو منهم. They use that in reference to stuff like that. A person may have long hair. They try to say that you imitate him. Have you ever heard the people of knowledge when they explain that hadith? Like, what does that entail? The imitation, is it religiously or is it characteristically?
Clear. Jazakallah khairan. Very good and important question. Regarding when people discuss the issue of having long hair, and a man having long hair, or make it the opposite, a woman having short hair. Perfect example, a woman trimming and cutting her hair. And they said that that's haram, it can't be done based off of the hadith, وَمَن تَشَبَّهَ بِقَوْمٍ فَهُوَ مِنْهُمْ. Whoever imitates the people, then he's from those people. What do the people of knowledge, the ulama of Islam, say regarding this hadith and its meaning, and does it pertain to all imitation or just certain aspects and levels of imitation? Jazakallahu khairan. Obviously, the time that we have, we cannot give a full, lengthy explanation, which it deserves. And we explained some of this, the meaning of this hadith, last week, if I'm not mistaken. Last week we spoke about the origin of Christmas and what the ulama say about the hadith, Ibn Taymiyyah and others. In brief, the ulama of Islam, they agree that it's clearly haram to imitate the kuffar and the mushrikeen. Clearly haram. But they differ on what does that mean. Anything and everything that they do is haram for us to do? Or only things that are specific to them? Specific to them, whether it's religious or worldly. Pay attention. They agree that it's impermissible to imitate the kuffar. We mentioned Shaykh Islam last week, he said that the zahir of the hadith is takfir of those who do it. At best. And at worst is what? Or at worst is takfir, and at best is definitely haram to imitate them. Point one. Point two. What is imitating them? The first view is that which is specific to them in religion or the world. In which if someone sees you doing this or wearing this or walking like this, they will see from a distance and they don't know you, they say he's a kafir. And others, they say no, this only pertains to religious symbols and religious practices. So in this country, these men, they grow their hair out of reverence for their gods and their deities. So one may say, you can't grow your hair long based off of that because you're imitating them. But if you have another reason why you're growing your hair long, or your hair that's long is distinct from theirs, then that's a different story. Let's make an example of this. The Prophet ﷺ, in many authentic hadiths, he commanded for the beard to be left alone. Leave the beard alone. Literally a drape, like that curtain. Let the beard hang down. See how it's just hanging naturally by gravity. Don't do anything to the beard. Some of the people of knowledge, or some modern day researchers, they say that today we should shave our faces. And that's because the Israelis or the Zionists or the Jews in Palestine, they have long beards and we can't look like them. And if you look at it, these Orthodox Jews or Hasidic Jews, no doubt their beards are what? Without a question. Or even deeper than that, Sikhs, many of them in Philadelphia, much more of them in New York City. They have full beards. They walk past the masjid. From my masjid in New York City, up the street is a Sikh temple, big Sikh temple. They come by the masjid on Jummah or Saturday or Sunday, and many of them have more beards than the people praying behind me. They have more hair on their face than Muslims who know the Quran, unfortunately. And there are other people who grow long beards as well. However, there's always a distinct feature of the Muslim man's beard, and that is the trimming of the mustache. The trimming of the mustache or the shaving of the mustache. Those other people that let their mustaches go what? All the way. So you can't even use that argument anymore. His beard is long and mine is long, but I'm not imitating him because mine is clearly what? Distinct. You understand this? And there are other things as well. So a man may have long hair, but it doesn't mean he's imitating a woman. How he dresses, how he carries himself, what type of long hair, what style is he wearing. And the same applies to short hair. A woman may have short hair, but she's not imitating a man because she's wearing earrings. Have you ever seen a woman that's not a lesbian with short hair without earrings? It's seldom. Right or wrong? Think about it, it's seldom. There are many women with short hairstyles. A woman that's not a lesbian, straight quote unquote, if she has a short hairstyle in public, 9 out of 10 times she's going to be wearing what? Earrings. And a woman that's not straight, quote unquote. She is a lesbian. She has a short hairstyle. 9 out of 10 times she's not going to be what? You understand this? So that which is specific to their deen, we agree on that. That which is specific and only with their dunya, we also what? Agree on that. That which is shared, we don't what? It's not haram. Let alone if a person accepts Islam. Our culture is the culture of Muslim or non-Muslim. The food that we eat, the clothes that we wear, the boots on our feet, your scully, your hat, you're wearing a dicky suit. That's the culture of the people of Philadelphia. That's predominantly kuffar. So I can't wear a dicky suit, I can't wear scully, I can't have one of these nice socks. I have to wear some type of, no, it doesn't mean that. Because that's something that the Muslim wears and the what? The non-Muslim wears. Understand this? Last but not least, another very important detail. This was mentioned by one of my Mashaykh in Medina, showing us the different levels of this. He says if there's something that the kuffar they've started, but it has become totally accepted to Muslim and non-Muslim, and is no longer specific to them, then it is no longer imitating them specifically. And he mentioned the dalil of Muslims in India. And when you go to Muslims in India, you'll find many Muslims who wear pants. And it is not specific to Buddhists or Hindus or Sikhs or Christians. Many Muslims wear pants. But all the Muslims that you meet in India that wear pants, they all wear a kufi and they have a beard. And they wear a shirt and pants. Who brought pants to India, or those types of pants, trousers? We're not saying that pants were just from the kuffar. Of course, it was the British. They brought that style to India when they colonized India, the jewel of the empire, the most valuable part. India, South Africa, so on and so forth. But nowadays, it's no longer specific to what? To the kuffar. So the point is, Akhil Kareem, Barakallahu Feek, is that there are many different ins and outs. There are many different what? Ins and outs. And a hairstyle does not have to be haram just because it's a hairstyle of a kafir. It depends on what type of hairstyle it is, and is it specific to them. And even if you wear it or rock it, there's always an Islamification of it. You Islamicize something. I wear Timbs, but my pants are above my ankles. I have a shape up, but I have this, a sajda mark. I have a full beard, but what? The camouflage, mashallah, but what? Some sunnah involved too. Nah? And there are many, many examples of this, and that's a very important issue. And many people, they don't have the proper understanding because that hadith, no question, has not been properly explained in depth like it deserves. So that's only a little bit, with the little bit of time that we have, and Allah knows best. Wafikum. Fadal. Next question says, WB, Overland Park, Kansas. Assalamu alaikum, Shaykh. May Allah bless you and your family. Is it true that Isa will be buried next to the Prophet ﷺ in Medina? Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. May Allah bless you. I don't know of a specific hadith that's authentic that Isa will be buried with the Prophet ﷺ. Rather, that which is well known, according to my limited knowledge, is that Isa will come in the end of time as a ruler and as a person bearing a sword. And there'll be no jizya, no swine, no crucifixes, etc. And the Dajjal coming, and the slaying of the Dajjal is from the last signs. From the what? The last signs before the hour is established. From the last signs. So, do we have text that Isa is going to die and be buried? I don't know. Do we have a text that he's going to die and be buried? Everyone understand this? Allah Azza wa Jalla, He took him to the heavens. How many years ago was that? And he's living, and he's going to come back. And now Allah is going to allow him to die and be buried towards the end of time. We know that everyone who's living on the face of the earth, as Allah mentions in the Quran, will pass out and become unconscious. The blowing in the soul, the trumpet. Everyone understand this? Everyone's going to die and they'll be brought back to life. But does that mean that the people are going to die and it's going to be life on this earth and then they're going to be in a grave? Does that mean that? La adri. I've never heard of that, and Allah Azza wa Jalla knows best. Question says, are the Muslims allowed to shave their arms and legs? Yes, it's permissible to shave your arms. Or, let's go back. Are Muslims allowed to shave their arms and legs? It depends what you mean by arms. A woman or a man. For a man to shave his arms is one thing, and a woman shaving her arms is another. If you have a little bit of hair, it's one thing. If you have a lot of hair, it's a different story. Shaykh ibn Uthaymeen, rahimahullah ta'ala, he mentioned a very beautiful principle which is extremely practical for every single Muslim. Beautiful principle. He says that hair in the Islamic Sharia is of 3 types. No fourth. There's a type of hair in which the deen has commanded you to keep. And there's a type of hair in which the deen has commanded you to remove. And there's a type of hair in which the deen has said nothing about. So the hair which the deen has told you to keep is obligatory to keep, such as the beard. And some scholars may say, some ulama, not all, a woman's hair should not be cut and shaved like a man's hair. That's a discussion in itself. The hair in which the Sharia told you to remove, obviously, is the mustache. The hair from the armpits, the hair of the pubic area. And also, one may extract the unsightly hair. Some ulama may say that a woman should remove the hair from the top of her lip, if she has a mustache, or from her chin, because it can become unsightly. And it can be a means of looking like a man, or displeasing her husband, or stifling the attraction of her husband towards her. And others may also say arm and leg as well. For a woman to be excessively hairy, that may be a problem, but that's also a cultural norm. And it depends on the race. Some women are very hairy, and it's accepted, it's known. Some women aren't that hairy. There's detail with regards to that. Obviously, the third type is a type of hair in which there's no for or against, and you are free to do whatever you want with it. And that can also include the arm and the what? And the legs. For a woman, for sure, and possibly for a man. If he's excessively hairy and he sweats a lot, he has a skin condition, he's breaking out, maybe. But the general concept is that a man who has hair is not supposed to be like a woman. Everyone understand this? And I don't think a man, and Allah knows best, is just going to shave all of his hair off his body like that in a normal mind state. Wallahu a'lam, yani. And Allah knows best. Next question says, Assalamu alaikum. It's S.A. from London, England. The hadith about dying a death of jahiliyyah without bay'ah to the Khalifa. Does this apply to us today? And if so, what can we do to work towards it? Imam Shafi'i rahimahullah ta'ala, he said, or is quoted to have said, Amantu billahi wa bima ja'a anillahi ala muradillah. Wa amantu bi rasulillah wa bima ja'a an rasulillah ala muradi rasulillah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. He says, I believe in Allah, and I believe in everything that's been mentioned about Allah, in authentic sources, of course. And I believe in it in the manner in which Allah intended. And I also believe in the Messenger of Allah, and everything that's been mentioned about the Messenger of Allah and from the Messenger of Allah, and the intended meaning of the Messenger of Allah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So from the things that the Prophet has informed us of are issues of government and issues of politics. And one who wishes to separate Islam from politics and government, he's going to fall into major problems. He's going to just take a pair of scissors and cut a huge chapter out of Sahih Bukhari, and a huge chapter out of Sahih Muslim, and a huge chapter out of Sunan Abi Dawud. And he's going to go every couple of pages in the Muslim Imam Ahmad and rip it out. Let alone the Quran that talks about leadership and leaders, that talks about government, and talks about governing people. So that's one of the major problems that we have, similar to the Meccan period. People, they say, oh, this is the Islamic ruling, oh, that's a political issue. Are we Christians? Do we separate church from state? Is it the French Revolution in Islam? Church is one thing, state is different. Totally secular. That's extremely dangerous. Rulings with regards to leaders and leadership is no different than rulings pertaining to what you believe in and what you practice, as long as it comes from Allah and His Messenger, alayhi salatu wasalam. So it's a very important ground principle to understand. So therefore, any hadith about a Khalifa, or about jihad fi sabilillah, or about a Muslim ruler, and obeying him, or whatever the issue is of government and politics, if it's authentic, that's the first step. The second step is the proper understanding. And the third step is the proper application. If those three things are all there, there is no option. Whether it's about a Khalifa, bay'ah, jihad, ruler, as-sam' or ta'a, al-khuruj, whatever the issue of leaders and leadership may be. Regardless of this fatwa, regardless of this mufti, regardless of this country, regardless of this regime, that has nothing to do with Allah and His Messenger. Last but not least, the hadith is authentic. This is the proper understanding. This is the proper interpretation. But it may be a time or a place in which you can't implement it. There may be a time or a place in which you don't have the physical ability to implement it. Or you have the physical ability to implement it, but it may come with an extreme hardship and a major difficulty. Like the Messenger of Allah said to Imran ibn Hussein radiallahu anhu, pertaining to an illness that he had. Some of the ulama say bawasir, hemorrhoids. And the Messenger of Allah said, he says, Salli qa'iman, pray standing up. فَإِن لَمْ تَسْتَطِعْ فَقَائِدًا. If you can't, then sit down. فَإِن لَمْ تَسْتَطِعْ فَعَلَى جَنْبٍ. And if you can't, then on your flank. فَإِن لَمْ تَسْتَطِعْ في رواية خارج صحيح البخاري فَمُسْتَلْقِيًا عَلَى ظَهْرِكَ أو كما جاءت. Pray on your back. So the ulama of Islam, they say this hadith does not mean that you can only pray sitting down if you can't pray standing up, in which you'll die or break your leg or your back. It doesn't mean that. What the hadith means, pray standing up, and if it's too painful and it causes you a lot of agony, you're allowed to pray sitting down. So the hadith is authentic. The meaning is clear, the practice is clear, but you may not have the ability to what? Do it. Because it's impossible, or it's possible, but it comes with a great deal of what? Hardship. So I think all of these things are relative to all issues of politics and government in Islam. This is the deen, no doubt. This is the haqq. Allah and His Messenger has spoken. And it's crystal clear. This is the proper interpretation. But the practice may not be feasible. It may be difficult. It may be impossible. Everyone understand this? So if there's a legislative ruler, a legitimate ruler, hakim shari, a legitimate Muslim ruler, and the people are giving him bay'ah, then that's one thing. You have the ability to do that, then that's what? That's one thing. If the ruler is not legitimate, different story. If he is legitimate but you don't have the ability, different story. If you can't get there, or you're unclear, or whatever it is that prevents you, then that's a what? A different story. What's important is what's in the kitab and the sunnah is absolute truth. And it is impermissible for us to water down and shave down the truth because of fear or being politically correct. Abadan. Even if we can't do it, it doesn't mean that we don't believe in it. And that's extremely dangerous. And I keep saying that the shaitan creeps up and he disguises things with fancy statements and exotic terms. And at the end of the day, it is abolishing something that's in the Quran and the Sunnah. And just like Imam Ahmed rahimahullah ta'ala, he mentioned things in usul al-sunnah pertaining to aqidah and pertaining to bid'ah. He also mentioned fighting with the rulers. Pious and wicked. That is also something which is supposed to be what? Continuous. Wal jihadu ma'adin ma'al-a'imma. Jihad will continue with the rulers. So we can't just take one thing off the shelf and leave three things. It's either you take it all or you don't take it all. And if you can't pick it up, it's too heavy or it's too high, at least know and believe that you have to reach for it. And if the day comes for you to get a stool, you have to take it off the shelf. That's Islam. And if that's not your deen, then you're going to have major problems with the law on the day of judgment, in which you didn't respond to the messengers. And the messenger told you about the leader, he told you about your parents, he told you about aqidah, he told you about prayer, he told you about Allah's above the throne. You have to accept everything that the messenger has brought you. And Allah clearly mentions in the Quran, on that day, the messengers will be asked, how did your people respond to you? And in another verse Allah says, He speaks to the people and He asks them, how did you respond to the messengers? So anything that's from Allah and His Messenger is the truth. As long as it's authentic, as long as it's the proper interpretation, and as long as one has the ability to do so. And if one does not have the ability to do it, then he still believes in it and desires it. That's in brief. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala should knows best. This will be our last question tonight. Fadl akhi.
So it's the understanding of some people that scholarship and for like the Western countries, Europe and America, isn't obtainable. So is that the correct understanding?
Question says some people believe that scholarship is not obtainable in Western countries. Is that the correct understanding? I've been asked this question before, and I've given my humble opinion on the issue. My humble opinion on the issue. You can go to Mufti Q&A on YouTube and find a detailed answer according to my humble opinion. It doesn't have to be your opinion. It doesn't have to be what this person says or the Quran and Sunnah, but it's my what? My humble opinion. My humble opinion. That's number one, for lack of time. I'm just going to mention one thing. Talking about the Quran, the Sunnah, what the ulama say, what the Salaf said about being a scholar, we don't have the time right now. There lies no doubt, Saudi Arabia has a special place in most, if not all, Muslims' hearts, on one level or another. One level or another. Some Muslims, many Muslims, if not most of them, they have a special place in their hearts for Saudi Arabia because of the Kaaba al-Musharrafa, Mecca. and because of Medina, let alone the other places, but specifically the Haramain, no doubt. And a person, he made it clear that he hates Saudis. I hate them. A person may come from Morocco, or Kuwait, or Palestine, or Egypt, or other Arab countries. I hate Saudis. They're filthy, they're arrogant, they're conceited, they're this and they're that. They walk around with their oil money, they come to our countries, they marry our women, they divorce our women, they take boys, they gamble. You can say what you want to say. But they definitely love Mecca and Medina. There's no doubt about that. They love Mecca and Medina. And the other Arab countries that wanted to invade Arabia in the past and also today. But they stopped because of the sacredness of Mecca and Medina. And there are other Muslims who have sacredness in their hearts for Saudi Arabia because of what Saudi Arabia does for the Muslims. Of building masjids, of spending millions, Allah, maybe billions of dollars on scholarships. The Islamic University of Medina, in which I myself am indebted to forever. And every class that I give is a means of me trying to pay back that debt. And it's not just a financial debt for the scholarship, full-paid scholarship, no. But the debt of you being given that ilm. You understand this? So many people, they have a soft spot in their heart for Saudi because of Medina. No doubt. There will be no dawah. There will be no dawah to Salafiyya. There will be no sunnah. They would do it. If it wasn't for what? Medina University. I had many classmates in Africa, from Niger or from Uganda. And they would say that in their countries, the Christians are strong. They're the majority. And the Christian missionaries are very active. And many of those Christian missionaries, they would say, we weren't afraid of any Muslims. We would run through them. There was no problem for us except for the students of Medina. And the students of Medina were thorns in our throats. They would always stand in front of us, the students of Medina. They were always willing to challenge us and beat us down. And we don't like the guys from Medina. Other guys, Egypt, we can deal with them. But the guys from Medina, we have a problem. So many people, their lives, no doubt, they have a very special place in their heart for Saudi. Everyone understand this? So with that being said, most Muslims, all Muslims, or many Muslims, they have some type of special feeling in their heart for Saudi Arabia. What do you think Saudi Arabia, the king, the scholars there, the rulers there, the president, what do you think the university would say and how they would feel if you walked up to them and said, you've spent million or $1 billion over the last 30 or 40 years on scholarships in Western countries. And these are the amount of students that you've accepted from Australia, South Africa, from Madagascar, from Canada, from Australia, from Europe, UK, Scotland, Ireland, from America, from South, all of the billions of dollars spent over 30, 40 years of Western students, and not one of them is a scholar. In 40 years he graduated. He was the first person to graduate from this school. 40 years later, he's still not a what? He's still not a scholar. He's still a talibul ilm, a da'iyah. What do you think Saudi Arabia would say? How do you think they would feel? Do you think they have a good feeling? You think they would smile, say Alhamdulillah? What do you honestly think? What do you think they would feel? What do you think the Sheikh al-Muhsin would say? Yeah, Sheikh, you've been teaching people for all these years and none of them have become a scholar. You think they would accept that? Without a question, that's an insult. Let alone the fact that they themselves, they wouldn't accept that. They wouldn't accept that. So basically, we just spend all this millions of dollars on nothing. For a bunch of raggedy-taggedy students of knowledge to learn Arabic, to translate, go to their countries, and that's it. That is an utmost disrespect to Saudi Arabia and to the Islamic University of Medina. You're a bunch of failures. You didn't do anything for those countries. And the money that you spent and all of the efforts are down the drain. Because there's not one scholar among millions of human beings in the Western Hemisphere of the globe. Who's going to accept that? When we talk about Quran and Sunnah from over there, they're going to say, get out of my office. What are you talking about? A teacher, he may cry if you tell him this, that all your students and graduates are nothing but students. And when in the University of Medina, Wallahi al-Azim, I swear by Allah, and Allah knows I'm not a liar, and I don't lie. I may be a deviant, but I'm not a liar. And I mean this. I'm not a liar. Only Allah knows we've seen in the Islamic University of Medina, brothers come on Hajj and Umrah, and an African brother walks into the room, or a brother from another country, from Indonesia, walks in the room, and the sheikh, he gets up and he spills his coffee and he runs and gives him a hug, squeezes him. Sit down, Kayf Halik, Tafadallah, so on and so forth. How you been? How's your country? How are your students? How's your masjids? How's your university now in Kenya? Tell me about your tulab, da 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 da. And the student, the older brother, he says, La ya Sheikh, we're sending them to come study in Medina. And the Sheikh says, for what? You're Sheikh of Kenya now. You have your students. They don't have to come here anymore. They can study hadith like you studied here. What? There. And wallahi, they were extremely happy to see a student come grown and henna in his beard, and he went to his country and he established something. Now he's just a da'iyah, a tuwailib, he's translating. No, he established something tangible. Everyone understand this? So that's an ultimate type, it's disrespect. It's not true, according to Saudi Arabia and Islamic University Medina, let alone the fact that it just doesn't make common sense. And another means of hypocrisy is Yemen. Everyone says, Yemen, go to Yemen. Go to the match, study with Sheikh Mukbil. Go, 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 go. Where did Sheikh Mukbil study? And what did he do when he got back to Yemen? What was the first thing that he did except to attempt to do what? Establish and not be a stepchild and be leaning and begging and dependent on Saudi Arabia. And there's no disrespect. There's no what? But this is Yemen. We have our own culture. We have our own problems. We have our own issues. They need a center here, what? And now look at Yemen. And anyone who's been to Yemen, he knows the barakah that Allah placed in his da'wah. And alhamdulillah, I've been there and I've traveled in Yemen. I've been to different places and learned tremendously in Yemen. If Sheikh Mukbil's attitude was, I can't be a scholar because I'm not in Saudi Arabia. But then the next problem comes here, Sheikh Mukbil's different. What's different about him? Except he was an Arab. So he can be a scholar, but you what? You can't be a scholar. It's a problem. And I can say, alhamdulillah, Sheikh Mukbil rahimahullah was the first student to graduate from the College of Hadith, the master's program. And alhamdulillah, I was the first American to graduate from the master's program in Hadith. I can say that. Not arrogantly. I'm just trying to prove a point. It's not about boasting. And I don't go around carrying no degree. Have you ever seen my degree? If I haven't done a video on my degree? No, honestly, it's a serious question. All the classes, thousands of videos. Have you ever seen me talking about a degree name? At once. Not once. To show you the envy and the jealousy and the stupidity of people who talk like that. A degree don't mean nothing. Who said a degree means something? I didn't say that. I never claimed that a degree means anything. Evident. Not in one video. But the point is, it's just like the Sheikh rahimahullah, he was the first to do something. I graduated from the same school. And I had teachers who taught him. Everyone understand this? So you have to have the intention of going to your country and paying off that debt and giving the respect that needs to be given to that university. But if a person will never ever become a scholar, there lies no doubt you really don't regard them of anything. So I feel that statement is extremely erroneous and dangerous and disrespectful. To say that there are people, you know people in Canada, how many Muslims in Canada? How many Muslims in the United States? And there's not one what? Not one learned person from among them. What are we saying? Where are our brains? And Allah Azza wa Jalla knows best. Jazakumullah khairan. That's the end of the Q&A tonight. Barakallahu fikum.